Jew haters on the left, Jew haters on the right, Jew haters hiding behind religions do everything they can to keep this conflict going. They do everything they can to incite hatred, violence, and terror. Many that protest against Israeli actions advocate for more violence, war, and terror as long as it is directed against Jews and as long as it keeps the conflict inflamed. All civilian casualties of war are tragic. The only reason there is an outcry against civilian casualties in Gaza and not anywhere else in the world is because life does not matter for most unless the hated Jew is somehow involved. It is for that reason that millions of civilians and millions of children especially elicit no protest, no concern, no outcry, with very few exceptions, when they are the tragic casualties of the many wars that have recently occurred and that are occurring now that have nothing to do with the Jew. Millions of civilians and children have died in recent or ongoing conflicts in Yemen between Iranian-backed forces and Saudi-backed forces, in Syria by Assad and his regime and others, which have killed hundreds of thousands, in Iraq, in Somalia, where jihadi terror group Al-Shabaab murders civilians in Somalia and Kenya, in Nigeria, where Boko Haram murders, rapes, and kidnaps, in South Thailand and South Philippines, where Abu Sayyaf still operates, in Myanmar, in Ethiopia, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, recently in Chechnya and Syria, where entire neighborhoods were carpet bombed by Russian forces, in Ukraine, in the Central African Republic, in Mali, in Libya, and in many more places. Right now, genocide is occurring in Darfur, in the Sudan, where black Muslims are being raped and slaughtered by Arab militias. Life means nothing in this hate-filled, hypocritical world unless it is the Jew that can be blamed and demonized. People make money from hate. Medias make money and attract audiences by pandering to the anti-Jew, anti-Israel crowd. Political, religious, and media figures pander to their audiences, knowing that going after the Jew is what appeals to the mob and brings in fame, fortune, and followers. The idea that in the end times the demonized Jew will be slaughtered is a belief that appeals to millions. Hardly anyone has the courage and decency to refute this evil belief and stand up against it. No matter how much more killing takes place between Palestinian Arab and Israeli, in the end, the only way the conflict, the war, will be resolved is for both sides to see and accept first and foremost the humanity in the other and realize that they are married together on a small piece of land where peace, goodwill, and brotherhood must prevail. This is the only narrative, regardless of how it plays out politically, that will end the bloodshed. That is not the narrative sought by the many Jew haters on the left, the many Jew haters on the right, the many Jew haters that want Jew killing to be a religious war ordained by God. They want instead incitement. They want to fan the flames of hatred and demonization of the Jew and their once small country. It is for this reason that on October 7th, 2023, millions upon millions of people the world over celebrated and rejoiced in the mass murder, rape, torture, beheadings, mutilations, kidnappings, and more of human beings, including babies, children, young people, old people, and others that were defenseless civilians for no other reason than that they are Jews. The rapists, torturers, murderers, and kidnappers then returned to the massive network of terror tunnels beneath Gaza to hide behind the civilian shields and use them as human shields. To this day, millions upon millions of people want more of the same. They want Israel destroyed and they want the Jew killed. Millions of useful idiots happily go along with this, perhaps to be part of the mob or the in-crowd. Whatever the reason, after October 7th, there can be no illusions anymore about how widespread is the hatred against Jews, a hatred the useful idiots of the Jew haters helps fan. Posters of babies and children kidnapped and taken back into Gaza, often after their parents have been murdered, offends millions. Posters of defenseless men and women of all ages, with some of the women bleeding from the crotch area, kidnapped and taken back into Gaza, offends millions. slaughtering, raping, sodomizing, burning alive, beheading, shooting at point-blank range, kidnapping, torturing, mutilating, and more, babies, children, defenseless people, parading around the naked bodies of the murdered or dying to be spat upon and defiled, which is what Hamas and Islamic Jihad did, and which is what millions upon millions support has harmed not only Jew but also the Palestinian Arabs so many pretend to care about. Hamas and Islamic Jihad need to leave Gaza now before any more civilians are killed. They must stop using Gazan civilians as their human shields. Israel must agree to let these mass murderers, rapists, kidnappers, and torturers leave freely from Gaza to go to one of the many countries that celebrate rape, murder, torture, kidnapping, and mutilation as long as it is against the Jew. In exchange for the hostages, Israel releases all Hamas and Islamic Jihad prisoners, no matter how much blood is on their hands, to go live in one of the many lands far from Israel, not any of the lands near Israel, where the demonic killing and raping of Jews is celebrated.